What is this for? Unbridled greed. Story of my life.
Isn't there something against people just leaving this sitting over here?
Is this on the agenda?
I'm just reading it.
Oh, well, I've read it before. I read it when it came out.
Well, somebody took the courtesy of blowing it up.
Yeah. Look at the back of the chair. Do what? Look at the back of the chair. I don't know what for.
What happened? I'm just place 3.
Place 2 out here. Place 4. You're right. Are you higher or lower?
You want your chair?
I think you're about 3 inches lower.
They are
so?
all adjusted a little bit. This one is higher. You want it? This one is higher. You want it? I'm serious.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the May 9th, 2005 meeting of the Haltom City Council. I want to welcome all of you who are in council chambers tonight, as well as those who are watching on HCTV. We appreciate your interest in the business of this city, and we're glad you joined us for action by the council tonight. Our first item is our invocation and pledge of allegiance, led by Councilmember Kim Reese. If you'll stand at this time, please.
I would like to thank you, Lord, for allowing us to meet safely. I ask that you look over our city, all of our citizens, and all of our city employees. Please keep them safe during their daily ventures. I ask that you guide this council to do your will so that Haltom City will be a better place for everyone to live. I ask that you help with the healing of our citizens that are going through hard times and show them your love and guidance. Thank you for all your daily miracles that you allow us to experience. In your name I pray. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and begin tonight. The next item is 2 presentations to be made. The first is a proclamation to honor Public Works Week. And Mr. Fain, if you'll join me at the podium, please. Mr. Fain, it is my privilege to present to you as the Director of Public Works in Haltom City this proclamation proclaiming the week of May 15th through 21st to be Public Works Week in Haltom City. And let me read this proclamation. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, and drainage, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent on the efforts and the skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, Calvin White, Mayor of the City of Haltom City, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2005, as Public Works Week, and I encourage our citizens to recognize the positive contribution which public works officials make every day in our community to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a presentation to you, but first I would like to have someone help me present something to you and the council, and his name is Rick Blair. Rick Blair has been a city employee for the city of Haltom City for 18 years, And I'm very proud of Rick and very proud of what he does for you and our citizens. Here again, he's been here 18 years. He started in March of 1987 on a temporary basis, and then in August of 87 he was on full-time, and then immediately after that was promoted to crew leader. But here again, very proud of him. He is definitely our go-to guy. We did a little project a couple months ago where we identified all of our water and sewer lines in the community and see which ones needed immediate repair and which ones we maybe could put off for a few years. But it's kind of like a walking map. He just you could say, Rick, what's going on in Higgins Lane, and what kind of condition is that water line, and what type of pipe it is, and he could think about it for a second, and he'll come up with what needs to be done in that particular area. Also, we had mentioned in pre-council, there's an equipment rodeo next Friday during Public Works Week, where we will have 7 communities come and participate in this equipment rodeo, and Rick has been very, very involved in that. In fact, he sits on the committee that helps organize this. But anyway, I would like Rick to come up, and as he's coming up, I'd like to also, hopefully I don't embarrass him too much, he's a newlywed. He just got married, and so he wants me to hurry up so he can go home and go take his wife to dinner and his children. And also, I get a real kick out of Rick every fall. He's a big Razorback fan, and he actually wears this red hat with a hog on top of it, right? It's a hog. He actually wears that to work. So I get a great kick out of Rick every fall. Anyway, what we've done is we, the staff, have a poster that recognizes Public Works Week, and the staff members sign that, and just thanking you, the council, for all the support that you provide us. And I would like to present that, myself and Rick present that to the mayor.
Thank you, Rick. I'm honored to receive this poster, and we'll put it back on the easel. And Mr. Muir, I believe this is to be displayed out. Will you tell us where? And then it has an ultimate home, I think, also.
Yes, it'll be displayed out in the hallway, but ultimately it would be out of the Public Works, out of the Municipal Service Center.
Will you convey, if you would, to the employees in Public Works who have signed this, that we deeply appreciate what they do, and we appreciate this token of their generosity that they've presented here tonight. Have you talked the city manager into being in your rodeo down there with the big heavy equipment when the other teams compete? Has he volunteered to do that?
Well, I don't want to answer for the manager. I know he's been challenged by another fellow city manager in a neighboring city, but we'll see how it comes out.
If you can fold me into that thing, fine.
But this event that Rick and other staff members from other communities have been working on has some really catchy little competition names. There's actually 4 competitions. One is called Catch and Release. They're going to operate a great all. And then they have a couple other events that utilize a backhoe, and one's called Weeble Wobble and Slam Dunk. And then the Skid Steer Rodeo, that may be the one that our city manager may be involved with, is called Scoot and Boogie. So,
that sounds like my event right there.
But here again, if I'm not mistaken, Rick, our city has been well represented. I know that, and we win quite a few of the events, do we not?
Yes, we have.
Yes. We usually come away.
We've got some good operators.
Yes, we do. Meanwhile, here again, we're very proud of them. It's winding up a week with this competition. And in closing, I just want to provide you a hat that actually says National Public Works Week on the back, and I know you'll wear them proudly. But thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. It will be held at the Municipal Service Center, the new Public Works facility at Higgins and Hollis. Starts at 8:30, and it will wind up sometime after lunch.
While they're passing those things out, let me echo Mr. Fain's praise of Mr. Blair. I've been here a short, about 3 years. Just celebrated my third year anniversary being here with the city. And Mr. Blair is one of the first people that I met, and he is. Thank you, Rick. Rick is truly one of the, when David said he's one of the go-to guys, he really is. I talk to, as the council may know, I talk to a few citizens from time to time on a daily basis. And typically in water and sewer issues, Rick really does take care of those citizens, and they are so complimentary of him. And to his new wife, you have my prayers and sympathies. But he really is a super employee.
Well, we do appreciate all of our staff, and while we're honoring our Public Works this week, we do again appreciate what you do. Public Works, Public Works employees have a special place in my heart. My dad retired in a small town in West Texas as a Public Works employee. And Rick David was talking about how you knew all of the water lines and sewer lines and where they were, and you were working encyclopedia. That was my dad. And when he retired for 5 years, if they needed to know where anything was, that was before they charted anything. They'd come to him and say, where is, So we appreciate what you do. And it's our privilege to be a part of Public Works Week and to recognize your department for what you do. Our second proclamation tonight is to the Asian Pacific American Heritage. And we have Judy Wang with us tonight. Judy, will you come up, and do you have some guests you'd like to bring with you? Okay. Judy, I know you're bashful about speaking in front of a crowd, but that's an understatement. But would you introduce the ladies with you, and then I'll make
Yes,
the proclamation.
I'm Judy Wang, and this is Catherine Dress and Teresa Tom. They are all our board members. And thank you for the opportunity to have a public recognition about the Asian Pacific Heritage Month. And Catherine Dress and I are also the DFW Asian American Citizen Council. Yes, so they. I think we're going to do this first, right?
Well, ladies, thank you for being here tonight, and it is my privilege to present this proclamation for 2005, the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Whereas America is strengthened by the rich cultural diversity of its people, and during Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, we honor the accomplishments of Asian Pacific Americans and the many ways they have enriched our society and shaped the character of our nation. And whereas throughout our history, Asian Pacific Americans have been patriots, answering the call to defend our nation and to protect the blessings of liberty and democracy, and are helping to shape America's future. And whereas today more than 13 million Americans of Asian or Pacific Island heritage contribute to the vitality, success, and prosperity of our nation, and to honor the achievements and contributions of these Americans, the Congress, by Public Law 102-450, as amended, has designated the month of May each year as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Now, therefore, I, Calvin White, Mayor of the City of Haltom City, on behalf of the Council, do hereby proclaim May of 2005 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in the City of Haltom City, and we call upon our citizens to reflect upon the history of Asian Pacific Americans and their many contributions to our nation. Ms. Wong, it's my privilege at this time to present this proclamation to you.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words, or did you say everything a moment ago?
I think a few weeks ago, I think a group of investors, we have a meeting, and they are very interested to build an Asian Gate and Asian Community Center. So maybe it will be pretty soon we'll have that. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you very much for proclaiming Asian Heritage Month. I belong to and am representing, along with Judy, the DFW Asian American Citizens Council. We have been rather busy in these last 4 years because at the beginning no one proclaimed Asian Heritage Month as a city, only the president did in Washington, D.C. So now we are pleased in these last 4 years with very graciously, Mr. Mayor, you have been doing this for several years. We now have at least 8 cities proclaiming Asian Heritage Month. And of course, we look forward to further contributing, being good citizens of the very cities that we live in. Thank you so very much.
Teresa, she doesn't look like Asian, but she also our board member. she has a big business in Haltom City, and we also give her a lot of business.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we do want to thank you so much for recognizing our Asian culture here. I am an American citizen, born of Italian descent, but I truly believe that East does meet West and that we do live in a global economy. And I thank you guys and the City Council so much for being able to honor these 2 women who work so hard to make sure that we all work together.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move now to the announcements and events, and we have several. And Mr. Muir, I believe we'll turn this entire section over to you to facilitate, please.
Sure. We're going to start off with our Public Information Coordinator, Fran Burns.
Thank you very much. I have a few things to remind you of this evening. This Saturday, the 14th of May, is going to be the first annual Trees Team Bass Tournament and Kids Fish Tournament at Lloyd Park in Grand Prairie. And the proceeds raised from this tournament go to support the Trinity Trash Bash Cleanup, which happens every fall. I'm going to leave some information on the podium over here in case anybody wants to pick some up after the meeting. The adult tournament is for teams of 2, and it's $150 for the teams of 2. And for the kids fish, it's $10 per child, and the children can be up to 12 years old. Should be a lot of fun, and I hope that a lot of people will come out. On Thursday the 19th, the seniors will have their annual spaghetti dinner fundraiser. They're going to be serving from 5 until 8, and tickets are $5 in advance and $6 at the door, and the food is great. I've been a couple years in a row. And I hope that after people come and enjoy the spaghetti at the Senior Center, they'll come to the concert in the park. Our second one is going to be the same evening, 7 o'clock at Haltom Road Park, and it features Vocal Trash, which is a rock and roll group. Lots of fun. Starts at 7, will end at 8, and we'll have some drinks for sale there as well. The library wanted me to remind you of their writing contest deadline, which is May the 31st, and it's open to people of all ages. The categories are poetry and short story. There's no admission or no entry charge, and there's several different age categories that are available. And the hours at the library are going to change on May 31st, beginning May 31st, which is the day when we return from our break for Memorial Day. Monday through Thursday, the library will be open from 10:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. Fridays, 10:30 until 6 p.m., and Saturdays, 10:30 until 5 p.m. So I'll pass that along to you guys. And then, speaking of hours, the hours at the Public Works effective today have changed just a little bit. They're open now from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. at Public Works. So thank you very much. Hope to see you at the fishing tournament.
Thank you, Fran. Joel Welsh, our Finance Director, has got a brief announcement.
Late last week, we received notification from the Government Treasurers Organization of Texas. I'll take that mouthful down to GTOT from here on. GTOT had informed us that we had received the certification of investment policy. It was presented to the City of Haltom City for developing an investment policy that meets the requirements of the Public Funds Investment Act and the standards for prudent public investing established by the Government Treasurers Organization of Texas. What this is it's recognition by this organization who reviews investment policies of cities, counties, school districts, special districts in Texas. I started doing some counting up on that and found out that there are just slightly over 1,200 cities in Texas. Mayor, you were right. The mayor and I had a little discussion. I thought there was about 800. He thought there was about 1,200, but that's why he's mayor. And, there's 254 counties, hundreds of school districts, hundreds of special districts in Texas, well over 2,000 governmental entities. I went to GTOT's webpage and counted the number of entities that have been certified for their investment policies, and on the webpage were listed 47 entities. So if that number is accurate, we're the 48th entity out of well over 2,000 entities in the state of Texas that has had our investment policy reviewed and found to meet all of the requirements of the state law, plus the additional requirements and suggested requirements of GTOT. We're very pleased to have this certification. This certification is good for 2 years, and it is now placed Haltom City in a rather select group, in that the city already receives the Certificate of Achievement for our annual financial report, the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for our budget work, and now the certification of our investment policy.
Thank you, Joel. I thought it was important that Joel bring that forward, as the significance of that. I think that's a significant event for Haltom City. Brenda Staub, our city secretary.
Yes, Mayor, Council, and citizens, want to remind everyone that next Monday, May the 16th, we will canvass the results of the election here in the council chambers at 6 o'clock, but that we will not be doing any of the swearing in until May the 23rd. So give the opportunity for citizens and the new council members, re-elected council members, to have their families available at that time.
Thank you, Brenda. Finally, I've got a couple here. Last council meeting, I've made an announcement about BISD and their bond election. They're having public meetings. They do have several more. Actually, one's tonight, so if you're at home, you can rush to Richland Middle School and catch the tail end of it. Or tomorrow night, you can go to Birdville High School, or on the 17th, a week from tomorrow night, at Haltom High to hear the school district's bond proposals and to talk with them about any questions that you may have. And finally, today we've several of us attended an exciting event at a residence over on Madge Place, at 5717 Madge Place. The city partnered with the school district and Cornerstone Assistance Network, and they had a ribbon cutting on a house that was built by BISD students in a program through their career and technology efforts that the kids came over during the day, helped build a house, during their school time, and helping them learn the trades. And a young lady was able to buy the house from the Assistance Network. So it was an exciting time for everybody there, and we hope this will be the first house of many. We hope to find another property to let them build another house next year. So it was an exciting time. But with that, that's all for the announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Muir. I also had an opportunity to be there today on Madge Place. And I'd like to encourage all the citizens here tonight in the audience, as well as those who are listening, go by and look at that house. It is an incredible accomplishment that shows what can happen when multiple entities combine forces. Good things happen. So go by and look at that, and help us rejoice that we have something like that happening in our community. We move now to the consent agenda. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. However, tonight, 2 of those especially require or merit at least some type of individual discussion, so we'll take these items one at a time. First of all, the minutes, if we could. I'm ready for a motion regarding the minutes. Councilmember Holcomb and then Councilmember Branson.
I move to approve the minutes as shown.
Councilmember Branson.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? If you will, register your vote. And the display shows unanimous in favor of. Item number 2, updating construction codes. Our building official, Mr. James Pliska.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Haltom City. Tonight, we're going to look at updating the city's construction codes, and at the request of the Haltom City Fire Department under leadership of Jerry McIntyre and under leadership of the Fire Marshal, Chief Charlie Langham, and also the new acting building official, Mr. Roy Castro. We are requesting that you look at updating the city's construction codes tonight. The city currently operates under the following construction codes: the 1997 Uniform Building Code, the 97 International Plumbing Code, Uniform Fire Code, the 98 International Mechanical Code, 2000 International Residential Code, the 2002 National Electrical Code, and the 2000 International Energy Conservation Code. Now, those codes are in effect at this time, and my department, as well as Mr. Castro and the fire department, oversees these codes. As I said earlier, the staff, including the Planning and Zoning and Inspections Department and the Fire Department, has prepared the following ordinances for the City Council's consideration and/or action, which will adopt the above referenced codes, or it actually will replace those, basically. Ordinance 2005-01605 adopts the 2002 National Electrical Code again, and the COG local amendments. That would be the North Central Texas Council of Governments recommended amendments to the codes in order to unify Haltom City with the surrounding DFW Metroplex. O 2005-01705 will adopt the 2003 International Fuel Gas Code with its local amendments. Ordinance O 2005-01805 adopts the 2003 International Mechanical Code and the local amendments. Ordinance O 2005-01905 adopts the 2003 International Plumbing Code with its local amendments. Ordinance O 2005-02105 adopts the International Energy Conservation Code and local amendments, and I skipped 2005-02005, which adopts the International Building Code and local amendments. Then we skip down to Ordinance O 2005-02205, adopts the 2003 International Fire Code and local amendments. Hence, that's why you'll hear from the Fire Department tonight if needed. Ordinance O 2005-02305 adopts the 2003 International Residential Code with its local amendments. And Ordinance O 2005-02405 amends Ordinance O 2003-0503, which is our city's fee ordinance, and the corresponding Appendix C to add the fire code permit fees and other associated fees with it. Therefore, the North Central Texas Council of Governments, or we refer to it as NETCOG, has encouraged cities to adopt the above referenced construction codes. In addition, the referenced local amendments were made by NETCOG, and most of the surrounding cities, particularly adjacent to us, have adopted these codes and NETCOG's amendments with those. So I stand to answer any questions you have concerning this. Also, the acting building official is here, and we also have the fire department officials in the back.
Okay, any questions for these gentlemen? Okay, I believe there are none. Thank you very much. I do have, yes, Councilmember Sutton, your light. Okay. I do have a question, and it may be for our attorney. I kept hearing the word ordinance. Will this require a second reading?
Yes, it will, Mayor. These are several ordinances that you're adopting on first reading tonight. Second reading will be at the next council meeting on May 23rd.
Okay, there was no indication on any of our agenda that this was first reading, but it is indeed first reading.
Indeed it is.
Okay.
But in addition, there's no public hearing needed for these ordinances. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, there being no questions regarding item number 2, I'm ready for a motion on first reading of these ordinances that were detailed. Councilmember Sutton, followed by Councilmember Hutchison.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to approve ordinance numbers O-2005-016-05 through O-2005-024-05.
Okay, we have a motion. Councilmember Hutchison.
Yes, that would be a second, and this is for first reading.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval, or do we have any discussion? There being none, if you'll register your vote. And the display shows unanimous passage. Item number 3. Mr. Muir, you want to introduce this
Certainly.
item for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, as a reminder, on the last council meeting, the council approved amendments to the Human Resources and Civil Service Rules and Regulations, adopting with the addition of Articles 19 and 20. 19 is the discrimination and harassment policy, and Article 20 is the computer resources access and usage policy. These two policies mainly deal with employees of the city. City council expressed a desire to collectively and individually adhere to these policies. So the resolution that's before you, Resolution R 2005-007-01, is presented for your review and comment, action, whatever y'all want to do.
Okay, I think this item, being on the agenda, is a very important one for elected officials, because what it does, it binds elected officials to the same requirements in the area of discrimination and harassment, as well as usage of computer resources that is bound on the employees. So what's good for the employees, I believe, is good for elected officials. Any comments by members of the council? Any questions regarding this item? Okay, there being none, I'm ready for a motion regarding item number 3. Councilmember Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I got in a little bit late, but I just wanted to say ditto to those comments, that I firmly believe that what rules that we pass here on the commission ought to be followed by the people that sit up here and represent the people of the city. So I move to approve resolution number R-2005-007-01.
And Councilmember Bransom, your light came on next.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, as you register your vote, the display shows unanimous vote by the council. The next 2 items are public hearings. Item number 4 to be introduced by our planning director, Mr. James Pliska.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Haltom City. This is final plat number P007-05. As this is a replat of property, we need to have a public hearing tonight. And again, we're conducting a public hearing regarding the application of Mr. Ernest Hedgecoth on behalf of Mr. James Rust for the final plat of lots 2R and 3R Block 1 of the Margaret Young subdivision, and being a replat of lots 2 and 3 Block 1 of the Margaret Young subdivision in the SF2 Single Family Residential District. And again, this is located on the southeast corner of Gage and Wood Streets, which contains approximately 0.4924 acres of land, and both residences are locally known as 5002 Gage Street and 1916 Wood Street. This plat is unique in that residential properties exist on these plats. The plat was recommended for approval to the City Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting of April 26, 2005. Therefore, I formally submit the 11 by 17 reduced copy of said plat for your approval.
Okay, members of the council, any questions or comments for Mr. Pliska? Councilmember Hutchison.
Is Mr. Hedgecoth or Mr. Rust here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, they will be here.
Both parties are here.
Oh, okay.
When we open the-
I just wanted to make a formal comment to you gentlemen. Very well, I saw pictures of the property before and then after you refurbished the property and brought it up to speed, if you will. And I compliment you on what you've done to that property, sir. I appreciate the fact that you took some pride in the way that the neighborhood looks and remodeled the house to bring it up to code. It's a very good job. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else from members of the council? Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at this time. And Mr. Rust and Mr. Hedgecock both are here. You gentlemen would like to address the council at this time. You'll have an opportunity to do that, and then following that, we'll hear from any member of the audience who wishes to address this. Mr.
Thank you,
Hedgecock.
Mr. Mayor. I'm Ernest Hedgecoth, consulting engineer for Mr. Russ on this replat, and we've complied with all of the city's requirements, and basically this was just to move a lot line over so that we wouldn't have to fool with one of the houses got built over the line years ago, and we were just trying to keep from having to tear down the house. We just moved the lot over a little bit. So it wasn't any big deal. We appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Hitchcock? I believe there are not. Members of the audience, anyone wishing to speak either for or against this application on this final plat? Okay, there being none, I'll close the public hearing at this time, and I'm ready now for a motion regarding this final plat. Councilmember Reese and then Councilmember Hutchison.
Yes, Mayor, I move for approval of P007-05.
Councilmember Hutchison.
That would be a second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Okay, if you will register your vote. That is a unanimous vote. Item number 5, also a public hearing. Mr. Muir, you want to introduce this item?
I'm going to turn it over to our Finance Director, Joel Welsh.
Thank you, Mr. Muir. What the staff is requesting tonight is an ordinance to be considered by the council to amend the fiscal year 2004-2005 annual budget. This is something that we intend to do from the staff level each year, if at all possible, is to come in about the midpoint of the year and basically make some technical corrections to the budget for items that we didn't know were going to happen necessarily when we prepared the budget last summer. Fortunately, all of these things are good things. You know, I'm not bringing anything that is unfortunate. We're asking the council to consider increasing the annual budget from $51,600,000 to $57,600,000, about a $6 million increase. Of this $6 million increase, over $5 million of it, almost $5.4 million, is directly related to capital projects issues. Of that $5.4 million, $3 million is us amending the budget to reflect the spending authority granted when the council agreed to sell the certificates of obligation back in January for the drainage utility. That's the $1 million for equipment and $2 million for system improvements. The rest of the money in here, approximately $2.3 million in terms of capital, was for basically reauthorization of funds, because these funds were authorized to be spent last year for capital projects. The capital projects including the Municipal Service Center, the Recreation Center, the Senior Services Center, acquisition of a fire truck, and all of this was being done with bond funds. And these projects were not concluded by September 30th of 2004. They're in various stages of progress now, with a number of them completed during this fiscal year, and we're asking for an amendment to the budget to recognize the authority to continue to spend these capital funds. Outside of the capital funds area, the largest expenditure increase involves in the water and sewer fund. We're asking for an amendment to the budget for the increased cost of debt service for the water and sewer revenue certificates of obligation that were sold in January. And basically what happened with that was that when we were preparing the budget, we knew we were going to be selling the COs in January, but we didn't know at that time exactly how we were going to structure the payout of the issue, and we didn't know that until later, until we were ready to issue the COs. And now that we know that, we're asking for the additional funds to meet the first year payments. And then in the general fund, there was about $173,000 that is being requested. That is the awarding of grants. Many of the grants the council is already aware of, because they were notified of the grants when we applied for them, and now we have them. Of course, we have the revenue coming from the grants to cover the expenditures, and we just need an appropriation to spend the money. And then there were some other small things, a small amount of money for the animal shelter for buying cat cages, the police donation fund for both a grant and match for a grant for bulletproof vests, some funds that had been already approved by the crime district for expenditure for some software and for the recent murder investigation. And then finally, in the Court Technology Fund, a total of $50,000 for buying some equipment and a printer.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Welch? Councilmember Sutton?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, Joel, in layman's terms, it looks like we're getting revenue for all these additional expenditures we're adding to the budget, correct?
With the exception of the capital projects, everything that we're asking for has revenue attached. The capital projects, it's money already in hand.
Right, with the COs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else from members of the council? Mr. Muir? Okay, there being no further questions for Mr. Welch, I'm ready for a motion regarding this item.
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to open a public hearing on this thing.
You are right. I'd already turned the page. This is a public hearing, and we do need to, and I open the public hearing at this time. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding the first reading of this ordinance to amend the budget? Okay, there being none, I'll close the public hearing at this time, and thank you for calling that to my attention. I'm now ready for a motion regarding this item. Councilmember Reese?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve ordinance number 0-2005-027-03.
Okay, Councilmember Lanford, your light was on.
That's for a second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, if you'll register your vote. And it is a unanimous vote. The next item on the agenda is the Visitor Citizens Forum. This time is set aside for any person having business before the council that is not scheduled on the agenda to have an opportunity to speak to the council. We have one speaker's request card that's been presented tonight. Each speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter listed on the speaker request form and must refrain from personal attacks toward any individual. A 6-minute time limit will be granted. Council cannot discuss or debate any issue brought forth at this time, nor can any formal action be taken since this was not a posted agenda item in accordance with the open meetings law. Mr. Bill Journay, if you will, come forward. You have 6 minutes. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Bill Journay. I live at 4529 Nadine here in Haltom City. And what I would like to speak to Council about is an untapped revenue source, or as some people might say, outsourcing our government. And why not? Our cities have outsourced their police responsibilities to insurance, record services, senior volunteers, and government-controlled environments to such an extent that no one is safe anymore. They now neither care about our safety or our freedom, just our tax dollars. Good, honest citizens can determine quickly sincerity from the pretense thereof. Auto insurance is just another way of outsourcing our traffic laws, social discipline, and justice, and oppress the less fortunate for more money. Accidents and deaths have not charged. City governments are still broke. The real perpetrators are still at large. This secret is whispered everywhere. Mercury Street, for an example, between Beach and Higgins, is still an unchecked raceway. The perpetrators, city employees, city vehicles. School teachers are really bad about speeding, following close, and never signaling. Late for work, I suppose. Poor examples, but part of a, quote, brotherhood. Police officers are no longer recognized as peace officers that serve and protect. We see them more often in jackboots and battle gear, controlling the masses, after the bad guys. Even at our schools, all because of lobbyists have done away with decent principles of our social discipline and justice. And traffic laws are still ignored. About that unpaid revenue source, look around you. How many are in the $50 to $100, maybe $300,000 a year bracket? And break our traffic laws every day. It is these people who actually cause more accidents and deaths than the uninsured. These people are the very reason we need insurance in the first place. And what happens to the illegal immigrant with no ID at all? In one door, out the other. We could pave our streets in gold if we simply allowed our police to enforce our traffic laws as once they did. Or is an ounce of prevention still worth a pound of cure? Or does your partnership with insurance and commerce come before the safety and freedom? What about the children? How many of you working for our government are in the $60 to $300 a year tax bracket, and our school children are doing fundraisers for our school supplies? Our officers patrol our schools, and wrecker services patrol our streets. Yes, believe this, vinegared food is still at the senior center. I'll bet there are many in the $50,000 a year bracket that could fix our bungled rec center, our unsafe schools, our streets, and could tell commerce and insurance to go to the back of the line. I'm sure you're all worth it, but we're looking for an efficiency-run government for half the price. Think of the possibilities, or what is an honest, fair leadership worth today? 100,000? Not. Some people think they are worth a lot of money simply because they have it. Nikita Khrushchev was really upset because we refused to allow him a visit to Disneyland back in the 60s. He said this nation will one day be overthrown and not a shot fired. We ridiculed him and laughed. He added this in his own language: I see in a multitude of geniuses a handful of fools. I wonder how many today agree with his statements. Judging by the condition of our condition, few would ridicule him. I now even question my right to free speech. Democracy will last only until those at the top believe the wealth of the people belong to them alone, thereby bankrupting that nation to extreme poverty. As a democracy, we could lose our freedoms overnight and not miss them for a generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Journet. We allow, with our policy on Visitor Citizens Forum, for any individual in the audience who wishes to address the council to have an opportunity to do so, and are given 3 minutes without prior notification. Do we have anyone wishing to? Okay, we have two. The young man over here first, if you'll come forward. And do we need him to fill one of those out or just? Okay, we do need your name and address for the record, if you will, and you have 3 minutes, please. And then Mr. Watkins following him.
Ryan Murphy, 4200 Northern Cross Boulevard, apartment 11309. Mayor, Council, citizens, I just wanted to announce a community meeting that will be taking place on May 16th, next Monday. It's a meeting that will consist of Crime Watch, community, schools, interests that will come together, and possible neighborhood associations that could be formed by different citizens of Haltom City. I myself have broken Haltom City down in 39 little districts, and also along with the wonderful plan that the officers have into districts. And Ray on HaltomCityCitizen.com is also going to be presenting there. It's going to be at Calvary Chapel at the church in our cafe at 7 p.m. And it's not a don't come if you're going to bash the council, or it's not a political time. It's a time that we want to take action and use the citizens of our Haltom City for good, and the intent is to mobilize those in the city that have some kind of word into change, and that's our intent, and to get people together that are wanting to see change in their neighborhoods or of crime and schools, to come together and get their ideas and hear their ideas and put them into mobilization, and that is what it's about. And I thank you so much for letting me announce that. Again, May 16th, 7 p.m. Thank you, sir.
Do you have anything? Thank you very much. Mr. Watkins.
Bob Watkins, 6140 Blue Spruce Circle. At the last council meeting, I was going to get up and mention something that came up during the last council meeting, but Mr. Eklund was speaking, and it was 10 minutes till 10, so I decided I'd leave it alone. I think it would be nice for the citizens to understand I believe it was item 1 and item 8 on last meeting's agenda. One of them had to do with water conservation, excuse me, and the other had to do with the fact that we were in trouble or possible trouble because of the fact that we weren't using enough water, that it was affecting our finances. Now, I had this explained to me slightly, and I kind of understand it, but I did have it mentioned to me personally a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, and it appeared on Mr. Eklund's website also that there were some people interested in. It seemed to be kind of a contradictory, so I think it'd be nice if the finance manager and/or Mr. Muir, somebody explain to the citizens why we're concerned with water use from a conservation standpoint, and on the other hand, we're wanting people to use more water so that because we evidently have to sell it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Anyone else? Okay, there being none, we'll go to the next item, and that's number 6, resignation of board members. Do we have any to be presented tonight? Okay, there being none, we move to item number 7, appointment and reappointments. Okay, there are none. All of us are here, so item number 8 is a moot issue. With that, the council will move at this time into executive session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Section .071, .072, .074. We will return here to take action on anything that is discussed under this provision of law.